This is Click for Biology, addressing syllabus statement 217, stating that multicellular organisms show emergent properties. In science, there is a technique very common to the physical sciences, which is called reductionism. Let's not get too worried about this, but what it basically means is that if you take something apart and find the components that make up the whole, so there's the whole and here are the parts, that if we understand and we can identify the structure and function of the parts, then we would understand the whole. This is called reductionism. In biological systems, what we find is that even with reductionism, the sum of the parts, as people say, does not equal the whole. Let me explain. If we take the brain as an example, you might adopt the reductionist approach. If we can find out how the parts of the brain work, take the cerebellum, the cerebrum, the medulla, let's take them apart right down to the level of their cells, the neurons. If we understand how all the neurons of the brain work, then we will understand how the brain works. This is not the case. When you add together the parts of the brain, what we find is that properties emerge from the brain which we could not have predicted by knowing what the parts do. So emergence is when we have new, unpredicted properties, properties arising from the whole system. An example of this within the context of the brain is that we could take apart the frontal part of the brain, find its neurons, understand how they work, understand how the neurons of the brain stem work, understand how the neurons of the cerebellum work, but knowing all of that, we would not have predicted conscious behavior. This would not emerge as part of our prediction, and yet of course consciousness does exist. Consciousness then would be described as an emergent property of the brain. Biological systems are full of these emergent properties.